Paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
The fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
And paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
Welcome to Paint the Fucking World podcast. My name is Visual Assault, and joining with me, as always, is Nolan, and we are here with Green Rabbit Press, Josh and Nicole. How are you guys doing this evening?
Great.
You're great.
Good. Love it. Now, you guys are based in North Dakota, correct?
Correct.
Are you guys getting hit with a bunch of snow right now? Is the weather frigid?
Just wind.
Yeah,
Just wind?
Yeah, I think it's day 4 or 5 of 20 to 35 mile an hour winds, plus whatever the gusts are. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's pretty cold today. I think it was like negative 40 with the wind chill.
That's just no. I'm good on that.
Yeah.
No. Are you guys both originally from North Dakota?
I am.
She is. I am not.
Where are you originally from, Josh?
So I was actually born in Florida, and then I lived there for like 5 years. And then my mom is originally from Wisconsin. So when I was 5,
Okay.
we moved back to Wisconsin. And then
Gotcha.
I lived there until 2015 and then moved to North Dakota.
Okay. Right on. Is it hard to sell like your artwork locally there? Do you guys ever get to do any like stuff there with your artwork or?
So, I mean, obviously North Dakota just has a very small state population overall, and everyone's pretty spread out. So yeah, there's not a lot of congregation of space. So like the largest city is Fargo, and it's like 115,000. So
Oh,
it's,
wow.
yeah, and that's the biggest city. So, I mean, the entire North Dakota population is like 650,000. So there's just
Wow.
not a lot of people here, but there is. And so with that, I mean, it's a lot of agriculture. So there's a lot of farmers, not a ton of manufacturing. So it's really just the farming community, and then everything that kind of revolves around farming when it comes to businesses and stuff. So there is one event that we go to in Fargo, and it's actually probably like one of our best ones, but we've gone like 3 years now. So they kind of know us. It's not like a huge event. So a lot of people know us. A lot of people attend the event every year. So we actually like have gotten to know some regular people that are collecting our stuff. So that's just a cool aspect for us. Is I don't know. I always hope to have people that would like collect artwork from us, but I never thought that would actually come true.
I feel like I'm quite the avid collector of your artwork. Being part of your Patreon, I have quite a few of your pieces. Not the most, I'm sure, but I have quite a few. So essentially, you guys you do vending and stuff. So you guys have to travel quite a distance to do anything like that.
Yeah.
Wow. And you guys have the new little one. So that's probably, I'm sure before the baby was born, you guys, it was a lot easier to go vend and stuff, but now with the little one, it probably makes it a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a learning curve.
We're more conscious of like where we're going, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like we're not driving 16 hours.
Yeah.
So.
I know, like, packing up my son, it's like the entire trunk is his stuff, and then we have like one seat for our stuff, and then packing up to go vending, I couldn't even imagine. That's just with the little one, that's gonna be tough.
It's a full car for sure.
Yeah.
But it's kind of one of those things where, when we got together, but like before we got married, this is what I wanted to do. And it was kind of like, do you want to do it with me? And because it's like, understand that this is definitely a lifestyle, and
yeah,
it can create conflict if both partners aren't on board with the whole art lifestyle. So it's definitely like it makes things a lot easier. We basically don't have a lot of fights about art making and art vending because we're doing it together. So So that kind of like curtails a whole section and category of potential, disputes.
Yeah. No, that's a good point because like, with my wife, she's, she works full time and I'm at home with the boy. And then when she gets home, I get to do artwork sometimes. It's not all the time. I do like a little bit here and there, but on her days off is when I really get to hit it hard. So like I'll have 2 full days a week where I am, dusk to dawn working on my art and getting stuff hammered out. And so, yeah, I know that's got to be, it's got to be easier with you guys both being able to work on things. Like if you set it up and like, hey, this is where I'm at. Can you go take over? I'll take over here with the kiddo, and you can. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for the most part, so like I still have to work a day job, but Nicole is a full-time parent, and so but I can just be like, hey, can you like do whatever? Like, she basically packs all orders that come in and handles just that whole avenue of the business, which I can do, I have done, and it's not a big deal, but it's just like when an order does come in, she can literally wait for the next nap and then go and pack it, and now it's like done. If it was just waiting on me, it would be at night and only or the next day maybe. So it's like It's going to be whenever I have time, which is not very much. So, and like she's taken over and she runs our Discord and really just our entire Discord presence. She runs probably 90% of that. So just like things, basically just kind of, division of labor for me. But for the most part, like, we make our own stuff. So like I make my stuff, she makes her stuff. We do have the benefit of like, oh, hey, like, what do you think? Or like, this is what I'm thinking. Or so it's nice to have that direct feedback of like, especially with like vending and stuff too.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing this. That's dumb.
Yeah.
What? No.
Or like, I mean, she has all the good ideas. So like some of my most popular screen prints were ideas that she had. She's like, hey, why don't you do like a cyber bunny? Like, sure. And it's like the most popular print that we sell. So it's like,
I love that piece.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was really, it was her idea in concept. I obviously like realized it, but that's just kind of, ideas come from the most random, obscure places.
Yeah.
So sometimes your significant other.
Well,
yeah.
I was talking about doing a lewd Patreon, and he's like, I don't know, like we don't really have time, and like that's the place where we made a lot of our money the last like couple months.
Yeah, in the last 2 months, I think like 8 or 9 people jumped on to that.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah,
that's a little bit lower of a tier, right? Because it's a smaller print.
Yeah. So it's $10. It's a 5x7 print and a sticker. So.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you see a lot of people up their Patreon from the one they had and just add on the lewd print?
No, a lot of people just hopped on in general.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
We have one person who gets both. But we specifically made that tier because he asked. So
yeah.
That's just the power really in my mind of right now, as being artists in the 22nd century, it's really all about like being on the platforms that are popping.
Yeah,
whatever they are.
Yeah,
if you're on a Discord server and they have like specific art channels that you can like post your stuff in, you need to be active in the general chat or else they won't support you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so really what I mean by like she runs 90% of our Discord presence is like she is involved in those communities. She doesn't just do a photo dump and then drop a link. She's in there in the general chat just talking, and it's all just kind of like it's just normal bullshit.
Yeah.
Just talking about life, like but like she's doing that. She's developed these relationships with these people that lets us be like, and she flat out, she just asked them like, hey, what do you guys think about if we did like a lewd Patreon? It'd be like a 5x7 screen print. You would get a sticker. It'd be $10 a month shipped in just a standard 5x7 envelope. And they're just like, yeah, that'd be great. And we're like, well, okay. So we like made it, and like a bunch of people jumped on. Second month, we got, even more people. So, and all we do is just drop like pictures of it in these communities, and then people just randomly just pop. So it's more like you have to give people the opportunity to support you. But if you don't really give them that opportunity, they're not just going to come find you. So
I never thought about joining other Discord. I mean, we have the PTFW Discord, but and I'm a part of a couple other ones, but it's just people that I already know, really. So I haven't thought about joining other Discords out there that I may not know anybody in.
And especially tapping like because there is a point where you start jumping on a bunch of art Discords. I mean, you're going to saturate your market because you're essentially just trying to sell art to other artists, which does work like a little bit at first, but it's not necessarily a good long-term marketing idea because they're just as poor as you are. So, I mean, and us too, like, selling to other artists, like, I mean, we obviously appreciate everybody who does buy things, you know what I mean? Like, because we know that dollar means a lot more to us artists. So the fact that you decided to buy something from another artist as an artist, like we get that because like we obviously buy art too. So it's but yeah, like we jump into other communities that are not necessarily strictly like fine art.
I think I post in 6 other Discords that are not art related. I'm in other art Discords, but like I'm not. Those are the ones I'm posting in that are yielding a profit and like customer base. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So, and it has taken work, and sometimes I do get distracted, on it, and I should be taking care of my kid, but like, is what it is, So.
Yeah. No, I never even really thought about that. That's great advice for anybody out there listening that, other Discords or Discords in general are a good place to find people. Cause we all post on social media, and I mean, honestly, that's like rolling the dice sometimes, whether your post is going to do well or not.
Yep.
So
with algorithm changes, you don't know what's going to happen.
And really, like, for the most part, like with how well posts do on social media, I guess it's not something I specifically like worry about. I use it as like, I don't worry about how many likes, or I don't try to get a lot of likes. I just use likes as a gauge of what things are working and what things are not working. And sometimes like for the most part, like, especially with Instagram, you really don't get dinged if your stuff doesn't like pop off. So it doesn't super matter. It's like, so Instagram, post away. Stuff like TikTok, you do get dinged if your stuff starts doing badly, because TikTok understands that, that didn't pop off, or that's not doing well. People just aren't into it. So they're going to bury it with other stuff. So just having a general,
or if you get banned multiple times, or get taken down multiple times.
Yeah. So there are things that with everything, every platform, you should educate yourself. It's a simple Google search on what's kind of happening in the here and now. But I mean, I used to spend like a couple hours, probably a week, just reading articles, trying to figure it out, how to make things, like what's the secret formula. And then all of a sudden it's like, new algorithm changed. Or the thing is like, it's not like any of these platforms announce there's a algorithm change. It's just all of a sudden people are like, hey, this thing that was, something was working, it's not working anymore. What the fuck? Like right now, I mean, there's another Instagram Illustrator chat that I'm in, and like we've all confirmed that like, oh yeah, our views are totally way down on Instagram, and we have the smallest audience in that chat compared to everybody else in there, and everyone is international, so you can't even use like the US excuse, like they're from all over the world, all these illustrators. So yeah, it just kind of but you just roll with it. Like, what am I going to change? Like, I'm not going to edit my art to fit whatever imaginary algorithm that's going to change next month. And so, but you know, it could be because, you know, Facebook and Instagram like rebranded as Meta. So then it's like, well, maybe it's time Facebook and Instagram to die. And then that just means there's going to be a little bit of a vacuum time before the new app shows up. And then when the new app shows up, everyone's going to hop onto that, which we will as well, because we're not nostalgic about apps. We're just going to get on what's popping because it's the same.
That's what happens with TikTok, but now TikTok is, you know, it was supposed to be this great app for, you know, all creators, and that doesn't matter like what you're doing. But now it's getting to a point where it's controlling, and like you can't make any certain little thing, or they'll take your video down or post ban you, or, you know, shadow ban or whatever, you know, weird thing. And so it's just a level of, you can't worry about what algorithms are going to do. You need to do what you're like, post it, forget about it, walk away. Like, don't like, oh, I only got 100 views or whatever. Okay, well, the one day we got like 15, and I was like, what the heck? But you can't worry about it.
It's weird. Like I kind of took a step back from social media in November, and I just I wanted to take a step back from it. I got tired of posting every single day and trying to keep up and make content every single day. So I took a little step back from it for my own page, and I would just post when I felt like it. And honestly, like the videos I did post were doing better than if I posted every day. So I was like, well, okay, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, we were confused by that too, because like I would try and be like, okay, like we got a screen print TikTok I got lined up. I got another like work in progress TikTok I got lined up. I got a packaging reveal TikTok. Like I would like, there'd be times where it's like, all right, I got content like ready, and I would roll it out every day. Like, let's do like the new thing. And like the views sucked. And then it'd be like, I'd be 2 weeks away, and then I would drop a new TikTok, and it would be the exact same stuff, screen printing or a work in progress or a whatever. And then all of a sudden that one popped off, and it's like, that makes literally no sense whatsoever. So we just don't even like, for like Instagram that we hit daily, because that's what that app is for. TikTok, it's more like when we got something, we will toss it on there. But I am not going to stress out about trying to deliver something like daily, because I've already proven I've run that experiment, you know, several times, and it's never proven effective for what it is that we do. I don't know why. Maybe it is just us. Maybe it is just like the content is redundant. I don't know, but I'm not going to worry about it.
Have you started taking your TikTok video or your videos for TikTok and posting them onto Instagram? Because I know that they're trying to convert it over to essentially Instagram as like a TikTok instead of photos. They want videos now.
TikTok's Instagram's move has been going towards a TikTok-ish format for quite some time now. I know they tried that whole IGTV thing that I actually got on it and tried it for a bit and was like, this is weird. And then they did the whole Reels and the Shorts. I think they're pushing the Reels out right now. IGTV's dead. They're not pushing that out at all. Stories used to be like a really big thing. Posts you'd be able to like post a certain amount. Now it's like posts don't matter, stories are like it's all about the reels. I think every single platform's trying to go toward that format. Like even YouTube's starting to do those YouTube shorts that you can only post through your phone. You can't post it on the computer.
Sure.
And I don't know if that'll change. That might change because I know you can do that through TikTok now. But like I thought that was really weird, man, that YouTube started pushing these things and I was trying to figure out how the hell to do it. I'm like, how do I post a short? I got everything on my computer, I already have it edited, and I'm like, oh, you can only do it on your phone. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Ridiculous, man.
I mean, that's just a part of. I mean, we all used to be on MySpace. We all had those MySpace pages that took 10 minutes to load because everyone dumped a bunch of shit on there. We all used to have that, and look at that. Where's MySpace now?
Hey, I didn't. I was too young.
Yo, you missed the best time in social media. I am sorry. Facebook and all those other ones have nothing on MySpace. MySpace was literally one of those ways that you can express yourself through a page. Short of like, I don't know if you guys ever did any like what was it called? Oh man, I don't remember. There were a bunch of those like free websites. You can make a website, and all they were was like just pages of shit that we would dump. And then we'd tell everybody, oh, this is my link, man. Go to my link and check out my page. And it was literally like Facebook, MySpace before MySpace. And then MySpace hit, and anybody that knew HTML coding was like super like customizing it and stuff. And started like downloading or installing all those little widgets. And I had a little boombox with like a playlist. Like the music thing was like the best thing.
Yeah, except that, internet wasn't what it is now, so it was just like, oh yeah, let me load up somebody's MySpace. Here, I'll go make a pizza and I'll be back.
MySpace was kind of like almost having a like your own personalized, like dumbed down website.
Yeah.
Because you can customize it so much.
Yeah.
And like when I got Facebook, I'm like, wait, I can't customize any of this. But that's where everybody was. So
I feel like that should be the next move for Facebook, is to make it customizable.
If they did, man, they would dominate. I feel like they would, just because a lot of us nostalgia searching people would like be like, oh man, and we just start. Okay, I don't know how you guys did it, but it was like a badge of honor if your page crashed somebody's computer. We wore that. We wore that badge of honor. It's like
Oh man. Well, I guess we'll move on from social media and let's talk about a little bit about artwork here. It definitely is pertinent, but when did you guys start taking your artwork seriously? I mean, I know you guys both went to college and you both have degrees in artwork, and but what was like the time frame for each of you where you were like, this is what I want to do, and this is where I want to go from?
Well, I guess we can go back to when I was in undergrad. So 2016 probably is when I met this guy. So, I mean, really then, like, he's one of those people, if you get him on a topic, you need to have like an out, like, or he'll talk about it for like 4 hours. So like, and that was the, like, no offense to my undergrad teachers, but I hated them, so it doesn't matter. They sucked at what they did. So like, I'm spending thousands of dollars to learn how to sell my art and make art and like all of that. And I got a shitty experience, and like Josh was the only one who would actually sit down and philosophically talk about like art with me. So like,
this was before we were dating.
Yeah. So like, I just knew him because he was the printmaking he was a printmaking grad student at the time.
Yeah.
So he was the only person, because I would spend all my time in the printmaking room because nobody was in there, and they had like giant tables, so like, spread everything out and work on it. So like that's probably when I was like, oh, like I can actually do something with this. Like what? And then it like gets you thinking like, okay, how do I get to where I want to go? And so we burned a lot of bridges like in like that time frame from 2016 to 2018. Well, really 2019. So just I guess that was a big turning factor in a way. And then like 2018, right, is when we got together.
Oh yeah.
So and then that was another like big jump of like, okay, now we both want this art thing. What does that look like for us as like a couple? Because we saw we brought in a visiting artist. They're called Little Friends of Printmaking, and they're a couple. And we brought them in because they're screen printers specifically, and they're a couple. So we wanted to know like their secrets of how they maintained a relationship and like made this 6-figure, not income.
Yeah. Being two full-time artists.
Yeah. So that was like another big thing of like, oh, well, we could go to all these vending shows. We can do like all these things and build up a reputation with these like people, and which like we have some sort of reputation with people. But so that was just another big thing. But then now you have to like figure out what to make art that is sellable in a way. Like you can sell any art. That's, your thing, but to make it general enough that the general populace will want to buy it is like another thing, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So,
I would say making it marketable.
Yeah.
Not really maybe saleable, because that's just for whatever reason that's kind of like a dirty word, but making art that's marketable, I would say. Yeah. However you want to take that, because I mean we don't compromise like what we want to make art like. No. Like if I really wanted to try and make money, I would just do like dog portraits all day. You know what I mean? Like
that sounds awful.
Yeah, but
right?
That's exactly like that sounds terrible.
But people make six figures doing it.
Yeah, but it would not fulfill me. It's not of any interest to me to pursue that in any way. Same with her. If she really wanted to like have a solid income making art, she could be a wedding photographer, because that's really what her degree is in photography. Like,
that was a whole nother thing in my undergrad.
Yeah, we need to go into that. But so that's kind of, but that doesn't interest her. It doesn't fulfill her. So like we don't compromise like what we make art about, but we do gauge how the market responds to what we are putting out there. And sometimes we do go like, well, you know what? We were sitting on this thing forever, whatever the design was. We were sitting on this thing forever. We don't necessarily know the reasons why, but maybe it's just not an avenue worth continuing to pursue. But it's the same in the fine art world. I mean, if you had a gallery exhibition, it's very apparent if the market responds well, not just with sales, but just how people interact with the images that you're making.
Are people surrounding your art?
Yeah, if people are kind of giving it the whole 1 second and like gone, not even like that 0.3 seconds and like taken off, it's like, well, this is not connecting with people. That just defeats the whole purpose of making visual images. If you're not breaching the barrier and connecting with somebody, if no one's standing in front of it looking at it, it's not doing its job. So it's clear and there's something missing, whatever that is.
So like for a hard whatever of that, he was making Lady Liberty art, dressed as a stripper, which is great. Like they're great images, but like a lot of people don't like political art hanging up in their house.
Sure.
So I was like, well, why don't you get out of the political, theme? And he's like, well, I've been doing this for the last 4 years. Like, what do I do? And I was like, anything you want. Like, and so that's when we made the little blue and black devil girl of one of the pins you have, Marco. So we made that, and like that did really well at the beginning. So like it's kind of just, if you're making something and people aren't like, you're sitting on it for a really long time, like maybe you shouldn't be making that. Like, not that you shouldn't be, but like
Changed up.
yeah. So
No, I completely get that. Like, I've had to kind of, like, there's lots of things that I'd love to do, like, outside of what I normally do, but I have to take a step back and be like, okay, I am very much the definition of a starving artist. I have to make money with what I do, so I have to figure out what's going to be marketable for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where can I bring in an income with what I'm doing? So some of those things that I would do, they just kind of, they get pushed to the back burner. You know, eventually maybe I'll revisit that, but you know, I definitely understand that you like change it up, evolve with the times, which sucks because you want to ultimately do whatever you want to do, but at the same time you have to kind of keep pushing yourself forward with what's going on, what's current, what's relevant. And yeah, I definitely understand that.
I mean, really,
Yeah, we had we just
every
had a
artist-
really interesting conversation like a couple weeks ago about like, you know, selling art versus selling out, and I feel like this particular thing that we're talking about right now is really close to that. And ultimately, we were like, well, as long as you keep, you know, true to yourself, and that's what it sounds like you guys are basically saying. You know, it's like as long as you keep true to yourself, and I really like how you said it is it's fulfilling as long as it feels like it's fulfilling, and you're not going like down the wrong path or anything like that. But
like we obviously know like a lot of the artists that we know that are screen printers and printmakers, they are big deals in their, you know, respective worlds. Like they are famous essentially in their respective worlds, and they talk about it the exact same way. Like they don't like, if they have something, because it costs them money. It costs money to not make money. And so if that's happening, then it's like, well, now I'm not eating, or I'm not, you know, like standing on a principle of like, oh, I'm going to make this because I want to, and and you know, I'm the artist and I get to dictate like what happens. Like, that's fine, but that doesn't pay your bills. So as far as I know, principal bucks don't exist. So that doesn't buy me food. So there is a little bit of give and take. And what is also weird is that, and this is why art history is important, but that's nothing new. Art has been a business for 600 years or more. This is nothing new. This idea of making things that are saleable. Da Vinci didn't paint the Mona Lisa because he felt like it. He was commissioned to do that. He made money doing that thing. The only reason why he had it is because he loved it so much, he refused to give it to him, but he did keep the money.
Well,
So-
that's just like the Sistine Chapel wasn't made for fun.
No.
Like
that was made to make money. Oh, and Michelangelo didn't paint that.
His assistants did.
His assistants did.
It's funny. I just watched a documentary on the Mona Lisa, which was super fascinating on Prime, and there's an image, like 3 images below the Mona Lisa, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Well, you know, it kind of segues into my next question, was how has your art changed? You know, I know you guys didn't just start making art when you got to college. What were you guys making before you went to college?
So like when I was in high school, my original art career goal was to be like a comic book illustrator or something like that. And the thing is that when you grow up in like the rural Midwest and neither of your parents went to college, like they don't know anything about art. They're not artists. They had no idea like what to do. And they're like, well, we'll just go to college and then
you'll figure it out.
Yeah. Like they just assumed that the faculty would know how to do that. Well, they didn't. So shocking. But if you don't know that, then you know that's kind of like, oh well, I'll just go to college to figure that out. And so, but once I got there, I quickly realized like, oh no, you need to really go to a very specific type of college to do this very specific type of thing. And so I also had a high school art teacher who was really trying to push me away from doing any kind of like comic illustrative work. So he's like, here's Jackson Pollock and abstract expressionism. I'm like, all right. So I totally jumped on that bandwagon. Like, yep, lay the canvas on the ground and throw paint at it. So that's what I was doing when I got into undergrad. But that was in central Wisconsin, not in North Dakota.
And
Okay.
I actually went to school for wildlife bio and couldn't pass Chem 2, so I switched to art. So
And
Always good to have it back.
did you say you originally went for photography?
I did. So this is like a whole story, and I don't know if we want to get into it, but it's kind of funny in a way and very petty. So long story short, I went for photo. At the end of your Bachelor of Fine Arts, you have to do a show. And I was doing CMYK screen prints in printmaking at the time. So I'm all for the Second Amendment. And I was doing a whole show on firearms and parts of firearms and bullets and, stuff like that. So I photographed these things and I split them into CMYK and printed them on metal plates. And my photo teacher didn't like that because I wasn't using a traditional form of photography. So AKA Control P and print it from a printer. And I had to get the chair involved and everything. So that's how that went down. So I did end up screen printing my show. She was not happy about it, but now we're here and I do CMYK screen prints all the time. So.
It's interesting you brought that up because like when I was in college, I didn't have like the same experience, but like I had told the head of the department, I was like, oh, and she asked me how it was going. I'm like, oh, good. I just made some prints of my artwork to put up for sale. And she was like, oh, you're a sellout.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like she's like, only artists that make prints that are artwork to sell are just a sellout. And I was like, well, I actually think that it's just a great way to generate money for my artwork and to keep generating money off of pieces that are already sold. It just seems logical. I feel like in the fine art community, and especially when it comes to the university level, there is a particular way to do things. And if you don't go that direction, you are definitely frowned upon. The word kit was thrown around a lot.
It does depend on like, which program you go to, because my undergrad was awesome. I loved it. All the teachers were, and it's really the difference between a research institution versus an education focused college. So like North Dakota is a research institution. Where I went to undergrad in central Wisconsin, that's an education focused college. So all of the faculty there are very much they are there to teach. They do research, but it's like 20% of their time as opposed to teaching, which is like 80% of their time. So like they are there because they are interested in teaching and mentoring young artists through a program. And so my undergrad experience was awesome. I loved it. I would go back. So it does matter, the faculty. And I will say that, I got to know pretty much all the faculty there. And, when you really sit down and talk to faculty and you can get them like outside of class, which I did most of the faculty, because why would I hang out with other students? They don't know anything. Go hang out with the faculty. They're the ones that have shit at least a little bit figured out. So, but like just hanging out with them and just being like, hey, like why is this program just so cool? Because it's not an art college. It's just in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. There's like, yeah, the faculty just really jive here. But they're like, that is rare. Like most colleges are not like that. Like they're they're very petty, and they're just the faculty just for whatever reason just refuse to get along. They're like, what we have here is extremely rare. And I didn't really understand that until I got to North Dakota and went like, oh yeah, this is horrible. Because
yeah, I was gonna say that's nowhere near the experience that I had. Like the faculty, once class is over, you might get a little bit of their time, but it has to be related to the class. You weren't able to just you didn't have access to them, pick their brain on something that wasn't happening in class, or they didn't want to talk to you about that. So I never had that experience.
It's not like I sat with everybody every day, but it was definitely just hey, I could sit and talk with the printmaking professor, until he had to basically run to a meeting, because that's what he was there for. He didn't hang out in his office during class. He hung out in the print shop and was talking to people about whatever, mostly it was their ideas, or trying to help them work through this, whatever it is that they wanted to achieve with their specific art making. So when I mean he was there to help you figure it out, and he wasn't the only one. There's the majority of the faculty were there to help you figure it out, because that's what they were interested in. And so that's actually where, after that, I kind of bailed on the whole trying to figure out being an illustrator thing, because it's that's just a cutthroat world that there is no way I just don't have the chops for that. But after that, I'm just oh yeah, I want to go to grad school because I want to teach printmaking, because I want to be that. I want to be the guy that everybody comes to help them figure out how to make the art that they want to make. The whole marketing selling thing, yeah, I didn't have a lot of knowledge about that at the time. I'm figuring out that we apparently do have a lot of knowledge about that now. But because art making is so important to me, that helping even just somebody else figure out how to do that better, it's just seemed like the best job in the world. So
yeah, I feel like you've both of you have always been quick to lend a hand to anyone who asks questions in the Discord, or whether it be on your TikTok or Instagram. I've witnessed you guys multiple times saying, "Oh yeah, this is what we do. This is how you can do that," and it's such an important aspect to all of us as artists, and so many artists don't do that.
Well, I think we've just been, not burned is the wrong word, but we have asked so many artists questions and they don't get back to us, or they'll be like, that's a secret.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that. Where's your manufacturer for this? Oh, I can't. Nope.
Yeah.
I'm just that's stupid. I understand. Okay, well now, I'm in a couple enamel pin communities on Discord, and I understand they don't want to give their manufacturer out because it's going to slow down their production, and they've noticed that it reduces quality in their print or their pins, because the manufacturer is rushing to get their stuff done. Okay, I understand that, but it's also up to the manufacturer to be okay, well, we're overbooked, we can't take any more.
Right.
So
yeah,
there is that level, but most of those are Chinese manufacturers. So but there isn't a level of there's a level you just need to be okay, yep, here's my manufacturer. That doesn't mean I'm going to go with them,
Right, yeah.
Sure.
Just if you order stickers, you can go to Sticker Mule, Sticker App, Sticker Monkey, or there's so many of them out there now. And I'm going to tell you where I get my stickers. I don't care. It's going to take us longer because Sticker App has blown up because of TikTok.
For reals.
Because now it takes us 2 weeks to get our stickers. It was taking a week when we first started ordering from them. So, I mean, yeah, there is a level of that, but maybe you just got to plan a little bit ahead,
Yeah.
I feel like the important part is it's not so much of like when you give people information, when you go and like actually answer their questions, what I take back from it is how you make that person feel. You know, because you're absolutely right. They don't have to go with the manufacturer that you tell them, or they might not even use any of the information that you gave them.
Mhm.
But the fact that you gave them information might be that push that they need to actually go and do it themselves. And then you got somebody that's like, nah, bro, this is all my stuff. Go do your own research. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
all right. Well, maybe I'm not because it's too much work or whatever.
Well, and like, I
It's a
mean,
lot of time to
It is.
figure
It
it
really is a
out.
lot of time.
yeah, and it's more. I mean, when it comes to like, especially like the screen printing stuff, and I mean, we understand. Yeah, we understand that like when we have a visiting artist, you know, they are getting paid to come and do this thing, but it is still a huge inconvenience for them to show up at a college because they're usually traveling a significant distance. You know, they're being housed in a hotel and they're being fed usually at restaurants, which gets really old in the Midwest really fast because most things are deep fried. So it's like you're going to gain 15 pounds doing a visiting artist thing. But all the ones that I brought in when I was teaching, printmaking, I knew were very open about sharing their process, and not just their process in the screen printing, but just the whole, because they were all, you know, making a living being artists. And so it's like, well, let's also talk about that because these things are not being talked about in college. And all those artists, they also knew that because they all went to college and went like, oh, we had to figure all of this shit out. Now the
Right.
thing is like especially when we brought in, so it's James and Melissa Buchanan are the married couple for the Little Friends of Printmaking. I'll just drop them. That's their website. Google it. You can go check out their stuff. Everyone will love it. But they were absolutely 100%. They're just like, whatever you want to know, ask, because we can give you every piece of information. There is YouTube out there. You can go and look up everything you want to know about anything, but
Right.
you still need the guts to go and do it.
Yep.
Like, you can have all the information. That doesn't mean you're going to actually be able to pull the trigger on it. And that's really the big difference between, you know, artists that are working versus not. Basically, that's kind of how I look at it. So I absolutely will share, you know, anything about the screen printing process that I can in 150 characters in TikTok, because, and sometimes I'll go 3 more replies because it's like, yep, I will give you everything. And you want to keep asking, we can move to DMs. We like whatever you want to know, because it doesn't impact me to not tell you, to not share. It doesn't hurt me. It only helps me to share with you, because you're going to make a lot more friends using sugar than vinegar. So
Yeah,
Right.
you know,
Right.
I feel like so many artists have this mentality that they're in a competition with other artists.
yeah, a scarcity mentality.
Yeah, and like, I can't tell you how I did this because you could steal my business.
Yeah.
You know, I always say the only person I'm in a competition with is myself. I want to keep outdoing myself, and that's you know, I want to keep pushing and that's how I keep pushing myself forward, really. But I'm not in a competition with anybody else. I mean, you know, because my artwork, if your artwork is good enough, it's going to stand on its own.
Yeah.
And that's really, you know, what you want to strive to as an artist. This whole gatekeeping community on keeping secrets and, you know, not sharing things, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it makes me feel like every artist that does that is completely insecure about their own work.
I mean, I do understand it along the ways of course, they want to keep their meal ticket like coming in, and I mean, yeah, art is a business, and when you start giving stuff away, yeah, it's possible that but it's like, it seems so unlikely that all of a sudden overnight all your business is going to dry up just because you told somebody one thing. It's like we are not in a scarcity. There is an abundance of people out there that you just have to connect with. And really, if you're not connecting with, I mean, there are just several factors that could, be in play. Like for example, we notice Minneapolis, which is like 5.5 hours away from us. That's like our closest, like really major city, besides Fargo. I mean, we do really well there. I don't know why. We just do. We just went to Omaha like 3 weeks ago, and we did very poorly there. Now, I don't know why. It was the exact same company that did both venues, one in Minneapolis and one in Omaha, and they were 2 weeks apart. So, but we did significantly less in Omaha as opposed to Minneapolis. Now, that could be population size, but my guess is it's more about geography. I'm guessing Omaha is just a more conservative city compared to Minneapolis, and so Minneapolis is where all the like hipsters and like that's where they all hang out, I guess. So we have now, found our audience. So now it's like, well, maybe instead of trying to go to 1 million events in like around the world, maybe let's just maximize areas we know are going to be like successful for us.
Yeah.
So,
right. I find that so fascinating too, man.
Just how a simple change of state can completely like dictate. Yeah, it's nuts because you would think like, oh, we're all Americans, right? We're all the same. No.
Yeah, I can tell you that your guys' stuff, not necessarily the style, because the style is bomb, but your guys' obvious, right, there you go, you guys' content would probably not do well in my peninsula area, maybe in the bigger cities like in Anchorage and stuff, depending on the venue, right? But here in the peninsula, probably not, just because of the demographic of people here.
Yep.
Like my stuff is kind of iffy, goes up and down, and even the demographics kind of weird. It's definitely going to be a lot more popular with the younger crowd, and a lot of the guys on our age or our area, just because of like the aesthetic. But for the most part, if it's not landscape or an Alaskan view or a moose and a bear or something, it's like, all right, you better have your demographic down, you better have your marketing down, or you're not going to sell anything. And I'm like, all right, cool. And we do really well, but I find that so fascinating.
I don't know if you guys have looked, because on like Instagram you can view like who is like viewing your stuff, like male, female, age range type of thing, and ours is like 25 to 35.
Yep.
So that's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, so that's ours. So I mean the insights on all social medias, but Instagram in particular, ours are pretty robust just because we've had the Instagram account for quite a while. But yeah, like our demographic is 75% male, anywhere between, I mean, really it's 18 to 45, but mostly into the 25 to 35 range. And it ranges from California to Texas to New York and Pennsylvania-ish area. That's kind of like our where the viewers are, at least. Mm-hmm. But then again, like, just through experimentation, basically every time we go to Minneapolis, man, it's like, it's a good time. So, but that's just what you do, man. That's just running any business. Is you, unfortunately, there is no like magic formula to tell you where to go to sell anything. You just have to experiment. Yep. And yes, sometimes you'll eat that cost, and there's just no way to mitigate. You obviously try to mitigate. You just try and keep your bottom line just as low as possible. But if you want this bad enough, understand that you have to invest in it, and that's what we do. And yes,
investing also means losing money.
Yeah, that means upfront cost. That means sometimes, every show is a gamble. There is but that's how business works. It's always a gamble.
It's the same if you invest stocks. Like they're going to be down one day, up the next. Like up for a year, down for 10. Like you don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. I did a show in my hometown in Gold Beach, and all the artwork there is very similar to what Marco was saying. But I was like, fuck it, it's $30 for a booth. Oh, and I had a big booth. And so I went in and I hung my artwork I walked out at the end of the day with $1,000 in my pocket. I had no idea I was going to do that well.
It's because
And
you
I
were
was-
different from everything that they were seeing.
Yeah. And in all of the younger crowd that kept walking through, and I feel like I have something for everybody. And all the younger crowd was like, I had people at my table all day, and my cousin was there helping me, and he was like, man, every time I look up, I have all these vendors looking over here at us, and they're all scowling. And I was like, why? He's like, because everybody's over here.
Yeah.
He goes, you're the
Because
only
you were
one making money in
different.
this building.
Yep.
And I also make it a point to talk to every single person.
Yeah.
I'm very diligent about that. Like, I'm talking to everybody, and I think being personable and putting yourself out there and talking about your artwork. And I stand right in front of my booth and I'm talking all day long. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't lose your voice in 8 hours, you're not doing it right.
Well, it's
Yeah.
funny when you get to like bigger events, you'll talk to people and they'll just either stonewall you or like pretend you don't exist. Like,
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it also
or they'll chat your ear off. There's
Yeah.
no in between.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've done some anime conventions, and they get really crazy with the whole. I've done one for like 3 years, I think, back to back, and then 2020 hit, and it's been kind of weird. But what I really like about that technique, what Tyler's talking about, is personable. Is when you do those same events, and those people come, they like remember you, right? And they look for you. So you go and you're looking around, you're like, hey, and then you guys act, at least the way with me, you act like if you've known each other forever.
You better
They
act.
come over.
You better act excited because you better
Yeah.
be grateful to
Right.
that somebody bought your shit
And came back.
Hell yeah.
Like
Hell yeah.
that's really at right now. I feel my observation is that the gratitude economy is going to be the next thing. Is that whole just hop into like a job, they'll take care, work at it for 40 years and then they'll take care of you. That system is done. It's over. So now the system that replaced that is you can be here for 5 years, but we can fire you for any reason, including if you deserve a wage increase, we're going to fire you. Like that was the economy that replaced the we'll take care of you economy. But now there is pushback from Gen Z, and I feel as though now businesses are going to have to circle back and go like, actually, we really need to start taking care of our people again, because it's those businesses that fuck people over for the last whatever, probably 2-3 decades.
And then they're wondering why they can't keep people.
Like, why would they stay?
Like, they have no reason to stay. They can go make a freaking YouTube channel and make $100,000,
Yeah.
Like, there's no point in them staying at your shitty server job,
Right.
So I definitely feel that the gratitude economy is the next thing that's going to take over, and that just trickles down into every small business, including us. Is that if you in any way are not grateful to anybody, and if you act, because word of mouth is still pretty powerful, and like so if we act shitty to one person, that's gonna get around.
So especially in like the pin community.
Yeah.
Oh my God. If you do one thing wrong, you better be on top of it and making a public like apology right away. Like,
Pin community?
Yeah. So
they are hardcore.
Lewd pins are a very hot commodity, especially in the anime community. And if you make one small wrong, you better be there ready to fix it.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That is insane.
You will not.
You will be done. You will be done.
Like out of every type of product that you could think of, like pins of all things, man. That's crazy.
But they're collectible.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you're right.
I imagine any collectible community is the same way. I mean, baseball cards, so like sports cards, Pokemon cards, they all got to be that.
Like if you send out a card that doesn't have a scratch on it when you got it, and you sent it out and it doesn't have a scratch, and it through the mail process, whatever happened, it's like a corner was bent. You could probably that could probably end your career, like as like a card collector, depending on.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Like who you sent it to, like it could, you know.
That's also the power of social media is like everyone's got a platform, and everyone essentially has a voice that can, you know, promote or, you know, demote you. So it's just something that, I mean, I know we talk about it in business terms, but we just approach it as in like, you know, they're excited to own it. We're excited to give it to them. We also just encourage them. Hey, you want to tag us? Cause we just want to see it. Like it's the best when like we have a couple of people that just almost every time I drop something, like
a new print,
like they will come and pick it up. And the one, I don't even know how old he is, but his entire bedroom is basically just starting to become
us,
like us. So, which is super cool. But that's, you know, but why I love seeing the pictures because I love seeing the final home that stuff ends up in, because otherwise it's just in our drawers, you know, we want to see it up on the wall. And then, yeah, we do just approach it with just like, we are grateful to you because that lets us make more stuff. Like we are not in the art business to make money. We are in the business of art so that we can make art. So I think
we need the funds for our, you know,
actually,
or not our product, but like our
Walt Disney said that we don't make films to make money. We make money to make films. So
nice.
That's in general been my like philosophy.
But now they're in the, you know, we need to make money.
Well, it's obviously that was a different.
Yeah, but
we're in a very different era for sure. Well, I mean, I think we want to make money. That's what that's our ultimate goal is to make money. But we also want to pursue our passion because as creatives, if we're not able to create, if we're working, 40, 50 hours a week for somebody else, and then, we have a family at home and we're trying to make ends meet and take care of everything, that leaves us with little time to actually create anything. I mean, I quit doing artwork for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do anything for 2 years when my son was born because I was working 40 plus hours a week, coming home, taking care of him, and I didn't have time to create. And it was killing me. I didn't realize how much it was killing me until I started creating again. And so, yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, we sell art to make more art.
Yeah.
And, that's, we have to get these things out of our head and, do what we can to keep moving forward to supplement our income with what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's why so many people, newer artists, actually have issues with pricing their stuff as well, is because you first go in with the idea of like, do I even want to sell my art? Is my art even good enough? Right? Your self-esteem's already kind of like in that will it happen moment, right? And then even worse so when you're just trying to make money to create more. Like when I started, I didn't really care. I was like, oh yeah, that's like $20, and it was original pieces, but it's just because like $20 will buy me some more paints or a couple more canvases. And I can just keep creating, Yep. And then I got Tyler over here like crucifying me basically for selling something that he would sell for like $150 for like $60.
And that's where like we come in, where we think art should be affordable.
Right.
Well,
but
I mean,
in the sense though, you do have to value your stuff, and I'm slowly getting the idea of that, like, okay, it did take me some time. I've been doing this forever. I get that. But I totally understand that Walt Disney quote, because that's literally one of the reasons why I just started selling it, was because I just wanted more money so I can get more stuff and create more. It wasn't because I wanted a car or I wanted to get out of my job, just, oh, I ran out of canvases. How can I get more canvas? I'll just sell some paintings. I got a bunch of them. So I can get more canvases.
And I don't, there are paintings I have that are thousands of dollars that I have priced at $1,000, but there's also stuff that I have that's very affordable. And I'm willing to work with almost anybody who wants, like, if they're that passionate about my painting, like, I will definitely work with them to get it on their wall, because I'd rather see it on their wall than sitting in my studio.
Right.
But at the same time, I have to, not everything that I've ever done is going to sell. So
Yeah.
I have to price myself accordingly for that. And, I also have $60,000 of student loan debt that I'm paying off for my college education to go to do art. There's a lot of factors in that you have to think about when you're making art. And if you want to do it as a career, you have to value what you do. You can't just be like, oh, I spent 8 hours on this painting I'm going to sell for $20. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
If you don't value what you do, nobody else is going to.
Yeah. There definitely is there's a lot of philosophies when it comes to pricing artwork. And really, you just have to find one that kind of aligns with what you are specifically doing. Yep. I mean, the best one I found is basically find people or other artists who are making something in a similar vein, whatever that is, and find a few if you can. And then, so basically do your research, do your product research if you want to really businessify it, but do your product research, do your competition research too, if you want to look at it like that, and see what they're pricing it at, and price yourself accordingly. So when we're pricing our screen prints, and we do $40 for an 18x24,
that's comparable.
That's basically what
to the gig poster market.
What other screen printers post their, that's what they sell their stuff at. And there's also a rift in the printmaking community as well. It's mostly the academics think no, you need to be selling these for at least $300 a piece. And then there's a lot of pushback from the working artist who's going yeah, I can, but who's going to buy this at $300? Maybe one person didn't walk away with this at $300, but can I get maybe 10, 20, 30 people to walk away with it for $30? Yeah. Did I make the same, if not more money? Yes. Well, I have achieved the same goal. Now 30 or so people have my shit on their walls as opposed to the one.
So, and that's where original paintings can be prints. So say you have a painting that's $1,000, but you photograph it really, really good, not shitty where you have the vignetting and all of that, whatever. And you print it out, you buy a printer or you go get it printed at a nice place. You can sell it for $20, $30. Yeah, that may not be expensive, but if 10 people walk away with that, you just made a couple $100. So is it better to sell one painting or 20 prints? You can have both options, but make it available.
Right.
Definitely.
Because say I like that painting. I don't have $1,000.
Right.
So now I'm, internally I'm I love this thing, but I can't have it. Now we live in a world of fear of missing out is a big thing. So if you have it available in a cheaper option, or even postcard size, 5x7, those are easy to print, sell them for $5, $10, so just having all the options available for your customers is a big thing. Granted, we don't have all of our prints because they're hand pulled, so we can't physically, some designs will not work smaller, but we have them in stickers or we have them in pins, so or t-shirts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you guys definitely run the gambit of artwork, and as far as how you can purchase your artwork, not just original prints, but you can also a lot of your designs translate really well onto clothing and pins and things like that. So, you guys have a really good base for marketing, and I think a lot of artists can learn from what you guys are doing to incorporate into what they're doing. So,
well, again, it's just because, people. So I know that like Kevin Spacey is on the outs, but before he was on the outs, he had a really good quote of he won some kind of award, so he gave a speech, and one of the speeches that we as actors and successful people are obligated to send the elevator back down. So metaphorically is like we rode the elevator to the top, and now we have the opportunity to send it back down to help somebody else ride it to the top as well. And so that's also like part of our philosophy when it comes to like art making and business and all that kind of stuff is like, yeah, maybe helping somebody out might cost us, not selling a print or whatever, but we would not be here if somebody hadn't paid it forward and given and answered our questions when we asked them. So like, because that's, I think you were upstairs, but I was talking about James and Melissa, like they were in a just 100% an open book. And I mean, we grilled them hard
about everything, not even just art.
Not just art making, but the business side of what they did, how it like literally their income, what it broke down to, like percentage wise, how many shows they did, like all of it, like break it all down for me and give me an understanding of what it takes to do like what you guys are doing, because that's what I wanted. And then when we got together, I'm like, this is what I'm trying to achieve, and she's like, yeah, I'm on game for that. So
I was on board before we even got like together. Does that make sense? Like I wanted this thing, so it just aligned and we moved forward. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I love it. Well, we are like an hour and 12 minutes in here, and I have like asked like 4 or 5 questions. we've been a great conversation. So I'm gonna jump down into my Halloween questions because you guys are being featured in this month's Halloween, which is all Stephen King. And I feel like you guys have a lot of inspiration from like horror-esque styles, very dark and macabre. So yeah, I guess, do you draw any inspiration from like horror movies and things like that within your own artwork?
I personally don't, which is kind of funny. I hate horror movies.
You do?
But you do collect like oddities.
I do collect like skulls and like taxidermic insects and stuff like that. So, but I hate horror movies.
Yeah. but she loves Halloween too, so it all kind of balances out.
Nice. Now, are you a horror fan, Josh?
I would say like specific kinds of horror I like more than others. So I guess, and I grew up in a very conservatively Christian household, so there was a lot of things that were restricted from me, like growing up, and horror movies were definitely one of those things that were just not allowed in the house. Like there's just
same.
And so it's just something I didn't really grow up with. And so like I just never really super got into watching them. And so it's more like, psycho thrillers, that kind of stuff. I like usually those types of movies. But like, and then now
I just got you a bunch of creepy and eerie magazines.
Yeah. So I'm definitely diving in. So now that I'm like getting older, and I've noticed this in general, that the older I get, the more in history I like to like go back. So like looking at like, I've always been into like lowbrow art in general, like Robert Crumb and the Zap comics and all that stuff, Ed Roth, and just learning about where lowbrow art kind of came from. And then because from those guys came stuff like the Crypt Keeper and the Eerie magazines and Mad magazines, and that's where all that stuff kind of came out of. And so, but never collected that stuff. And now that I'm like an adult, just for some reason it occurred to me with like recently, I'm like, oh yeah, I like can collect those things now. Like
I have adult money.
I'm allowed to do that. So I'm like slowly like kind of right now I'm like on a huge Rob Zombie kick. So which is weird because like I grew up listening to his music. Like, you know, I remember when the Sinister Urge dropped and like I was in love with that CD. It fucking like destroyed it just listening to it over and over. But I had no idea why I loved it so much. And then like a few months ago, I'm like, hey, what's Rob Zombie? Like I haven't listened to Rob Zombie in decades. And I like looked at on like Spotify. I'm like, what's Rob Zombie up to? I'm like, oh shit, he's got like 6 more albums. Well, let's just take a listen. So I was like, oh yeah, look at that. He's still like doing stuff. And then like, hey, he like released a bunch of movies. Let's go and like watch his movies. And it's just like, oh my God, they're so funny. Like this, it's just so awesome. So like that's kind of what I'm on a kick on right now. That's so whatever you would consider like that grindhouse, I guess that's what I would call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the grindhouse horror genre. Like when Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez did the grindhouse double feature with Death Proof and Planet Terror, I loved it.
It's just like it's not even scary. It's weird and it's over the top and it is morbid, but it's also like you have to have a specific sense of humor to like that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it's definitely not for everybody, but it definitely is for people who are just into that. They are stupid movies. Like if you really break them down, they are stupid movies. But that's the enjoyment of them is that they're just goofy and they're just super quirky and they're way over the top. But like that's what makes them so great.
Definitely.
I think Planet Terror was a little bit too over the top for me. Like I really did respect Death Proof. I really like Death Proof, but for some reason they could not get to Planet Terror. I'm like, wow, this is bad.
Well, I guess maybe with you growing up in a very conservative Christian household, did you ever read like Stephen King at all? Because I mean, this zine has been kind of based around Stephen King the entire time. So I was just curious, like, are you a Stephen King fan at all?
I mean, I've seen like movies based off of his books, but yeah, for me, it was like reading is just it's something that I wish I had done more like as a kid, but I was drawing all the time more so. Or I was playing music, or like I was just so busy.
Oh yeah, he used to play the bass. Did you know that?
Yeah, I mean, so like I was in like concert band in high school, jazz band, percussion ensemble.
You had a garage band,
and I had 2 garage bands. So like I was doing that, I was drawing and painting and stuff like that, and then it was like kind of like video games and movies like in between. So like I wish what's so weird.
Tyler's just like
all my friends I grew up with, all of them read like all the time, just constantly. They're just talking about new books that they're reading. I'm just like, I did this drawing. I was totally,
you know, I guess it shouldn't surprise me that you're a musician as well, because I feel like almost all the creatives I know play some kind of an instrument.
I mean,
I was about to say something like that too, man.
Yeah. Well, that creativity is not. It's usually not just singular. It usually starts to leak into other things.
Yeah.
Create a PTFW garage band.
I was gonna say Josh can play bass. David Ketcherside plays drums. You know, because I've been playing music since I was 16 years old. Granted, I've kind of gotten away from it in the last 5 years or so, but I love music. It's such a huge part of, you know, who I have become now. It's just not my main focus anymore. But through my life, I've always kind of, you know, there's times where I'm like, I'm focusing on my traditional artwork and drawing and painting, and then okay, I'm kind of getting burnt out with that. I'm gonna write for a little while. I'm gonna do a lot of writing, and then okay, I'm getting burnt out with that. And now I'm gonna focus on my music. And I've always done that, but this is like the longest I've actually focused on any particular thing is with you know, actual my traditional artwork.
Sure.
And I've found such a passion with it that I want to keep going with it every single day. And but yeah, it shouldn't have surprised me that you played music. I don't know why I was so shocked.
I mean, look at him, man. He looks like a musician.
Yeah,
mean,
you look like
it's not like I really like. I don't really like ever. Talk
I mean,
about
the ZZ Top did just lose their bassist. You could probably step in for him.
There you go, dude.
You could be the next sharp dressed man. Well, we are, like I said, we are getting kind of late here, and I don't want to keep you guys too late. Let's go with a couple more questions here. What is your ultimate goal with your guys' art career?
So, I mean, I think we have a couple of goals, probably like maybe short term, midterm, long term. I would say, like short term, like right now, I would say we're still in the because 2020 sucked for everybody. Like we had 13 events that we were planning on going to in 2020, which was so in 2019 is when we did 2 events in 2019 because we had never done them before. So we're just like, well, we'll do 2. That way we're not totally committed into, I mean, we did buy a bunch of display equipment, so we were kind of committed, but like, we're kind of like, we can definitely afford to do 2. So let's kind of give this a trial run. We'll see what happens. Like, we're like, oh, wow, this actually went like pretty well. So 2020, we're like, fuck it, 13. So, and then COVID happened. They were all canceled. And then 2020 was rolling, or 2021 was rolling around. And the beginning of it was people were still kind of being weird in different parts of the country. And
well, I also got pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah. So then that also like kind of put a damper in. So we had to actually like cancel one event because it was like 2 weeks after our kid was born.
Well, we had to cancel 2 events because they got induced a week early.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we canceled Minneapolis.
So, yeah, we had to cancel some events. And so I think we only ended up doing like, I don't even remember, 3 or 4 or something like that. And then this year we are only, I think we're doing like maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah,
7.
It's not very many.
7, something like that. But we branched into like the Villain Arts Tattoo Expo. And because we have found that, the Fargo event that we do that's a tattoo and motorcycle show like simultaneously, and that one we do really well at. So we're like, oh well, let's just go to a regular tattoo expo and like kind of again experiment, see what happens. And so, but those are pricey, so that just by default limited how many events we are going to do is because, and then plus 2 like. Everything's a drive. Now we got to drive with a baby. So we make sure we take that into consideration, like where we are going. So that's our goal, right? And short term is we're experimenting with events and finding what works for us in our current situation.
Well, and just like setup, like we're really trying to like nail that. And I know it looks like that on the Discord, like we have it down, but like we see other people's like setups and we're like, ooh, like oh, setup
that's
envy.
Such a good idea. Like when I go to like events, I'm not looking at people's shit. I'm looking at their setup.
Yep.
I'm just,
man.
How did you like set that? Like, how'd you get that up there? How'd you buy that? Like, how'd you get? Where'd you get this display thing? Yeah.
So I think like mastering that and like probably like we want to get more into like the enamel pins because we find it interesting and it's something like you can't like just do, if that makes sense. Like you can't just go and like paint it, you have to like actually like plan it out, plan the colors, all of that. So I guess like we want to get more into that, and that's probably where our tax return is going to go.
Have you ever heard of an artist, Butcho Vision? So Butcho Vision, I think he's shut down that Instagram because he's kind of moved away from his pins, but it's Butch Von Dro is his name, and he started out I think in 2016 making pins. And I think the first year he had actually posted on his Instagram, which I thought was really fascinating. I how many pins he sold in 2016 and how many pins he sold in like 2020. So in a 4-year span, he went from making like $1,000 one year off his pins to like in April of 2020 when he posted this, he had already made $100,000.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean it's definitely. I mean, we're not really. We're also like not looking at it to be like, because we're not like naive. Like we don't think it'll turn. We are not necessarily going, oh yeah, we're going to be those next people that are going to make six figures like doing this like for. But like, yeah, it's just another avenue of like.
It's cool to see your designs like in a hard physical form.
Yeah, as opposed to like just being on paper. So that's like another thing that we like think about too, because like, yeah, we could throw our stuff on like a million different products if we like really wanted to, but it's not like super interesting for us. At least like for me, it's more like if I am going to take this thing and it's going to be on paper, like how does it interact when it's on like a shirt or like a sweatshirt, and how does it change when it's in a sticker format? Because you can't just necessarily take a screen print and make it into a sticker. Like there has to be usually some editing that goes into it.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking more about like, well, what if I take a base design, like I take like our Goth Bunny design, and that's a screen print, but I'm going to edit it just a little bit. I'm going to add in a couple of different elements that make it's kind of its own design as a sticker. Like those same designs aren't in the screen print, but they are in the sticker. So there's like, it's still the same Goth Bunny, but there's a couple of other things that are just like a little bit different. So you almost have two different ideas kind of going on at the same time. Plus one's 18 by 24 inches, one's like 4.5 inches, and you can slap on your laptop. It's kind of just how the viewer like interacts with it. So it's kind of
here.
Yep. And it's kind of the same with like pins and stuff, is like, because you have to take this design and you have to really simplify it. And so it's like, you know, what does that look like to take this thing and now change it in and shrink it down and make it look like a pin? Because that's always been our thing too, is when we make a screen print, we are trying to make it look like a screen print. We don't want it to look like necessarily a digital print. You know, we want it to look like a screen print so that because that's what you're buying. And so you get a sticker, we want it to look like a sticker. We want it to look like a pin. We don't want to hide like the process in like we're like designing stuff.
No,
so
definitely.
That's probably like short and mid goals. Long goal is just, I mean, keep really figuring out like where we want to like vend and stuff. And I would say probably more so is just really continuing to grow and like evolve just the art that we're making.
Like a lot of it too is doing it as a family.
Yeah.
So like obviously both of us are artists, so like what does that mean for our kid, you know? Like is she gonna grow up hating art and become a doctor? Like good for her, but like I find that boring, you know? So it's just like we're trying to also create an atmosphere where she would want to, you know, think outside the box of terms of, you know, financial like income for herself, you know. So it's almost a legacy thing.
Sure.
Like, long term. So
you know, that's something. The reason I work so hard with what I'm doing now is I want to prove to my kids that if you work hard and make good decisions with what you're doing, you can actually kind of follow your dreams. You know, I don't see myself becoming a millionaire with what I'm doing, but I can be happy and be sustained with what I'm doing. And that's an important aspect for me. So, definitely leaving that legacy. And I completely understand that.
Marco, when you have a kid, it'll make sense.
Nah, man, that's part of the reason why I'm like, I don't think I do want kids. That is because I hear a lot of this stuff, and it's not bad. I just don't know how I would handle that, and I don't know if I want to. You know, like I got a dog, man, and that dog annoys the hell out of me sometimes. I can't do what I do to the dog to some kids. You know, I can't talk to the kids the way I talk to my dog because my dog doesn't understand. I mean it in a very like caring way, like I call him a dumbass and stuff like that. But in a very caring way, you know, like I talk shit to him all the time. But I say it in that voice of just like, you know, I love you. You can't do that to a kid. People are gonna look at you funny and be like, "What are you doing?"
I mean, you could. It's just they might have some issues growing up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly my point.
Oh
It's like,
man, my son's gonna be fucked up. Nicole's heard me talking to my son. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Why'd you do that? Yeah, I'm terrible. I'm really bad. I need to get better. What is some advice you would give to your younger self about artwork?
So I actually, because I mean, I've listened to all the other episodes, and it's the question that, like, I mean, a lot of the questions, obviously, I've been contemplating, like, what, like, the answer would be, but.
Can you tell he's a strategic planner?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think printmakers are strategic planners in general because you have to really plan out what you're doing.
Yeah.
You can't just go in willy-nilly and
no.
You have to have a
Yeah,
solid
you
plan.
gotta have something at least a
Maybe
little
that's
bit
what
figured
bothered
out.
everyone in undergrad, is that they actually had to sit there and plan what they were doing.
Probably. But anyway, like, so what I would tell my younger self, what's weird about advice is that it's always, of course, like autobiographical. So it's advice. I can't give advice to like other people. It's only advice I would give myself. And it's all kind of useless because the only reason why I learned the stuff that I know now is because you have to go through a bunch of bullshit and you have to struggle to learn something. You don't ever learn anything when life is easy. Like you only learn it through the struggle. So, but what I would do is show my younger self a lot of stuff, like a lot of artists that I wish I had found out sooner in life. I would show myself this, like the printmaking process, you know, a lot earlier in life, you know, just those types of things. Is I would make myself more aware earlier in life to all the things that I know about now.
Yep.
So
I get that.
So that's probably more. If I was going to give direct advice, it would be like whatever you think your hustle is now to figure out how to be an artist, you need to multiply that by 100, and now that's your base. So like I thought we were hustling before 2020 hit, we got fucked, and I'm just like, well, I really gotta let's try a whole bunch of shit and try and figure out money really fast. Man, most of it didn't work, but working through a lot of business ideas like very quickly be out of necessity. And that's when I really realized of like, oh yeah, like I thought I was hustling before, but I was just being lazy. I mean, really now it's like, I mean, I got a 19 to 20 hour day every day. And it's basically like, there's very little leisure time in that, like 19 to 20 hours. It's basically like get up, kind of get ready, hit the studio of some kind, or like usually dump some kind of social media presence, and then it's kid, work, kid, and then end of day. If I got anything left, it's art, or it's just kind of decompress from the day, bed, and then repeat. So like it's just keeping that train rolling, all the time, just not letting it stop. Basically, what I have found to be like.
I've been going nonstop since 9:30 this morning, and I just realized I haven't eaten a single thing all day.
You should probably do that.
I have not had a single bite of food all day because I have been going all day. Because my wife has 2 days off a week. That's my 2 days to do the podcast, do all my artwork, run my errands for my art, get stuff down the ship. And so on Monday and Tuesday, like I will go all day drinking coffee and Red Bull and not eat. And when we get done with the podcast, I'll probably go grab a bite to eat. And if it doesn't put me to sleep, I'm probably going to get back out here in the studio until 2 o'clock in the morning. So that grind is something I don't think a lot of artists really fully understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're pursuing anything of any kind of entrepreneurial anything, that's what it's going to take. Is like you're going to work your 8 to 10 hours at your day job that lets you live, and then you're going to put in probably another 6 to 10 hours into your side hustle, whatever that is. And so it's with a kid, it consumes your time. So but at the same time, like if you got 20 minutes or there's a nap of 30 minutes, like you got 30 minutes, hey man, that's 30 minutes of progress, because progress is progress no matter how small it is. It's still progress forward. And so that's just something too, like it's very easy to reestablish the habit of just letting things sit. And that's what I mean about keeping that train rolling, is that even if it's still just moving like an inch at a time, just as long as it's moving.
Like if she's napping, her naps are normally 45 minutes to an hour. So I know I have that time. So if we have new stickers, I'll take photos, if the Patreon needs to be printed, Josh doesn't have time, I print it. And for the most part, I've been printing Patreon, and probably people don't know that. And so I'll pack all the orders and get them out and go to the post office. And so even though you think it's insignificant to your business, even just taking one photo in that 30 minutes and editing it later is still a big step forward in your business.
Yeah. The older Mikey gets, the harder it's going to get.
Yeah.
Because those naps become more infrequent. The attention you have to give to her becomes, it multiplies. My son, when he was Mikey's age, was easy. And I thought he was hard then. and at 3 years old, almost 4, forget about it. It's an all-day process. And he's gotten to the point now where he's like, fuck naps. I don't need those. And I'm like, come on, man, take a nap. I got work to do. He took a nap with his mom today, but he hasn't napped all week or all last week. But he took one with his mom. So, yeah, and it gets harder and harder. And I know
that's
that
where, it could be like for you, it's if he passes out at whatever, and that means you stay up late. For me, I don't like staying up late, but I like getting up early.
He gets up at 3:30 almost every morning.
So that's where I get my big shot of time to like make stuff happen, is then, and then work all day, Mikey, or work all day, kid again, decompress, maybe a little bit more art if I got anything left, and then move on. So it's, but again, it's just however, and everybody's different, the situation's different, everybody acts different. It's just the overall overarching concept is to just, again, is to just keep the train rolling, like whatever that takes for anybody, is that as soon as you let it stop, like it's harder to get it going again. And it's very easy to just let it sit there and to not keep it rolling.
Well, 1 week we went to bed late, like every day, and you couldn't get up, and like you felt depressed basically because you didn't get any art time. So
see, my studio's in the garage and it's cold out here. So getting up at 3:30 in the morning, it's like there's no way I want to leave the comfort of my warm bed to come out here. But during the summer, I'm more apt to come out here when it's like 65, 70 degrees outside still. I will get up that early and come out and work before my wife goes to work. I definitely will do that.
Yeah, I've noticed. I've met some other printmakers that they'll actually change the print type that they do depending on the season. Mm-hmm. So like when it's cold out, they'll stay inside the print shop and they'll do stuff like lithographs and stuff, which just take a lot of time. And so it's a slower process. And so with winter, they kind of slow down and they'll take on the slower processes. But in summer, screen printing is really what these two artists I'm thinking of specifically do. That's kind of like their summer fall thing. Like they just, because it's fast and like they're just energized with the season. And so like that's when they'll go outside and they just screen print all day and just on weird random shit, and because that's just their style. So I mean, yeah, it's you kind of like maybe it's the studio's too cold, but it's I don't know what your living situation is inside the house, but like what can be done inside the house, you know, or what can you do like when it's cold, when it's too cold out, because there are ways to move your art career forward that aren't just making art. It can just be sitting and being like, all right, I need, you know, it's social media, having a presence, or it can be like I need to answer emails, or I need to document my and you know all my business expenses and stuff like that, and file taxes. And
yeah, you know, during the winter, I'm more apt to stay up later because I've already been up and I'm dressed and you've been moving around. So staying up later into the colder evenings is fine for me, but getting up is where I have trouble doing it. So, you know, that's why like lately I've been turning into more of a night owl. But once, you know, spring hits, I'll probably shift back into getting up earlier and working in the morning because it's I prefer to be a morning person, much like yourself. But right now, you know, things are dictated, you know, out of my control.
Yep.
So I have to kind of go with the flow and work when I can. So, yeah. You know, I've been asking everybody this one question, and I know that you had made a video about the book Steal Like an Artist.
Yeah.
But is there any other books that you would recommend for artists?
Well, he has a couple of books, doesn't he?
I do. Oh yeah,
no, that
Austin Kleon
Austin Kleon,
whatever. Yeah, he has some other books. One is Steal Like an Artist, and then Show Your Work, and something else. So
yeah,
I guess I would say like. I might say Show Your Work. I don't know. The thing is like there's a million like how to like you know art books on process. Like I mean, just pick one and you're probably fine. But there's a million YouTube videos on it. So but, like when it comes to like you know art business again, there's like a million books on it. So it's kind of hard to be like you know. I'm sure they all say relatively the exact same thing, but. Yeah, man, just Steal Like an Artist is pretty much just like the way to go. I mean, I've read Art and Fear like several times. It's got like some fair points. The overarching concept of like you know of fear. The thing is, I kind of don't like it is that it's almost like fear mongering. It is a little dark, or it's a little bleak. Just talking about just the concept of the fear in art. And that's where I find Steal Like an Artist was just very much just like it kind of solves a lot of internal problems in a very direct and simple way.
Yeah, and you can read it in like an hour.
Yeah. So I mean it's one of those things where it's like it just touches on every topic basically. So it does I mean that after that book to me there's just really like, oh well, I don't really need to read anything else because and again, I don't have time to read.
Sure. Well, I only have one last question for this evening, and that would be, where can people find you?
Well, we are at greenrabbitpress.com. That's our website, and then all of our social medias are Green Rabbit Press. So
except for TikTok, it's Green Rabbit Press too because we got banned.
Right on. Well, Josh, Nicole, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us. I didn't get to half my questions, but I feel like this is way better than anything I could have asked. You guys have given so much great information for myself and Marco, but other artists who may listen to this. So thank you again for coming on here. And I'm going to leave you with a Paint the Fucking World.
And stay rebellious, guys.